Welcome to Joyful Living DMV. We invest in real estate. Don't forget to subscribe to Joyful Living DMV YouTube channel and visit us online at JoyfulLivingDMV.com.
So when you're dealing with an investor, I know there are documents we have to provide. I mean, obviously now we don't provide it to you every time
Right.
because you have it, but you're wanting our LLC paperwork, all of that. Why do you need that? Like, why is that important? And there's that that letter from the state that says that we're in good standing.
Yep.
So why is that important for you for closing?
It's a very good question, and I get that question
A lot?
A lot, more often than I would like to, and it's funny why people sometimes are a little apprehensive of giving out that documentation. And I understand that sometimes it might have some sensitive information. But for us, it's important because we need to know who has authority to sign on behalf of the entity. We know who you are because you're going to give me your driver's license and it says who you are.
Right.
For an entity, a limited liability company, LLC or corporation or trust, it might have a name on it, but there is no proof of identity. So, just because the entity is filed with the Department of Assessments or something like that, it doesn't mean that you are the owner. Or because it says that you are the resident agent for the property, it doesn't mean that you are the owner. Or you might be the owner, but perhaps not the authorized signer. So there are additional documents. So what we're going to get from SDAT is what's public knowledge, and that's usually the articles of organization or articles of incorporation that get filed with the appropriate state entities. But from that, we need the operating agreement or the bylaws, which say how because it is a business, how the business is supposed to work and who is authorized to sign on behalf of the business. And that's what we get from the operating agreement or bylaws, depending on corporation or LLC. Like I said, there may be some sensitive information in those. Sometimes we don't require the full set of documents. Sometimes those things can be several hundred pages.
Right.
And believe me, I don't want to go through
You just want
all that
what you
document.
need.
I know what I'm looking for, and they're very specific things. So it will tell me who the members are, who needs to sign, who the authorized people are, and also what kind of procedure sometimes the organization has to follow in order for them to be able to sell or acquire the property. The operating agreements are documents that are generally drafted by the partners or the members of the LLCs or corporations. So it's supposed to have been done by the people that we are transacting with. Often, like we were talking earlier, to save money, they'll just get something out of Staples or Google and sign it, and they don't even know what they're signing, just because probably somebody required that they have an operating agreement. But this is their document. This is legally binding. And they have to obey the rules that are specified in their own document. So if it says we need the signatures of these 3 people, then those 3 people have to sign. If it says that they had to have an organizational meeting 30 days before they're going to sell the property, and they didn't, then they had to do that. If not, they have to. It might be too late for this transaction, but they should look into making changes to those documents if they don't want the same problem in the future.
If they have an existing, can they do amendments to that for future?
Absolutely.
So you don't have to start
That was
fresh.
my last point. We might not be able to take care of it in this transaction. We might still have to wait, let's say, 30 days to be able to close if the organizational documents had that condition in them. But we can definitely, those people can definitely make amendments to their own documentation for future transactions, so they don't have the same problem.
Fantastic. Now, what about that form? Because that was actually a hitch in our giddy up last year, was having that form from the state saying that our LLC was in good standing.
Okay.
So what is that all about?
So, and I'm going to speak just to Maryland for now.
Absolutely.
In Maryland, there's a requirement, if you have an entity, that you file renewals with the state every year. It's usually, for LLCs, it's a $300 fee, and you have to file personal property returns. When you don't do that, then the state will make a note on their website that your company is not in good standing because they haven't filed the appropriate returns and paid the appropriate fee. There may be other reasons. That's usually the case. If you don't file those for several years, then the state can revoke your charter.
Interesting.
Which means that your entity does not exist anymore.
Okay.
They can be revived, filing articles of revival and paying the appropriate fees for the years that were paid, as well as filing the personal returns for all those years. I don't think they don't revoke your charter immediately. It takes, I think if you don't file for like 2 or 3 years, they may revoke it. It's a simple process to revive it, but it can be, if you haven't filed it
Takes
for,
time.
and if you haven't filed it for 5 years, it might be $1,500 just in fees,
Right, right.
just to pay those returns.
Yeah.
But figuring out good standing in Maryland is very simple because it's right on the SDAT
Absolutely.
website. We will not require that you get us an actual good standing certificate you have to pay for. I'm not sure if it's $30 or $50 or whatever they are. That's a waste. I mean, on the website it says whether the
Right.
entity is in good standing or not, so we're fine with doing that.
And it took us no time last year to get ours back in
Yep.
good standing. It was a matter of just going on, and you went online to pay that fee and do whatever, yes?
But the reason I never realized that you can't send that check in for the $300 until after April 1st. I had paid it after we went to the accountant, which was like the end of February. They sent it back, you don't owe this. So, of course, I'm thinking, okay, and I didn't pay it. Well, then I realized I sent it in before April 1st because I didn't owe tax before that. And so April 1st is the date, and you'll be in good standing.
And I have to say, we have run across that with, across the board in the state of Maryland. You can't pay ahead of time. You can't pay ahead of time. Doesn't matter what you're trying to pay. Okay, so that just basically says you're in compliance with what the state requires to have
Correct. And
any kind of entity.
if you're getting a loan, the lender's going to require that you be in good standing. If you're selling the property, the title company is going to require that the seller entity be in good standing.
And I have to say, we go through this with a lot of different vendors.
Mhm.
So, right, it's a huge thing. You just have to do it. Bottom line, to do business.
Yeah, if not, just be your own person. If you're not going to keep up with the
Absolutely.
the rules of being an entity in the state.
Absolutely.
Thank you for watching. We ask that you subscribe to our YouTube channel, Joyful Living DMV, to automatically see our latest videos.